Hello, good morning. So far I've discussed many factors surrounding PTSD. One of them being what is PTSD, the signs and symptoms of PTSD. Then I've also gone ahead and discussed how can you help someone who's suffering from PTSD. But in order to help someone who is suffering from PTSD, you do need to know what the signs and symptoms are. One of the problems with PTSD that people most often face is that it does not come up instantly. Like, you have a trauma today, you will not have PTSD from tomorrow. You may not have PTSD for a few months itself. Your PTSD may start months later, or years later for that matter. Now, the problem in this case that occurs is if the PTSD is starting years later, family and friends and people who are close to you cannot figure out that you are suffering from PTSD. So again, the phrase enters, it's just a phase, it'll go away, you don't have to worry about it. But it's not going to go away because it's PTSD. It has a root cause and it is there for a reason. This distance makes it very hard to identify that the symptoms that the person's exhibiting might be of those of PTSD. So, what can you do? How can you identify if your loved ones or someone you know is suffering from PTSD? This is what I'm going to discuss in this video today. Hi guys, welcome to Guilt Free Mind. I am Dr. Shruti Bhattacharya, and today the discussion is about the subtle signs of PTSD. How do you identify it? One of the very, very, very common signs of PTSD that may be subtle is body aches. I'm starting with this because this happens to a lot of people and they don't realize why this has suddenly started. You may notice that people with PTSD have, sudden reactions. If you have seen someone with PTSD, let's say you haven't. Okay, so I will tell it to you like you don't know anyone with PTSD. You are watching this video, so you're obviously interested in knowing and understanding PTSD at a deeper level. PTSD tends to elicit unwanted responses from our body. So, loud clap, sudden light blinking, sudden lights coming on. Anything that is small and minor and may not scare others can scare people who have PTSD. Now, how will you, identify that this is happening? Obviously, you can judge their reaction. If small things scare them, and if you see them doing like this a few times a day, they are scared. They don't want to give it out. They probably are embarrassed or, feeling like it shouldn't be like this. Why is this happening? The sudden jolt. This happens when your heart undergoes a sudden jolt. There's sudden production of adrenaline and you go like that. If you're noticing these symptoms, then, as I said, there's the pain. So how does the pain connect to this symptom? What happens in PTSD is that people who suffer from PTSD, their neurochemistry becomes slightly different than the normal people. So these people secrete brain chemicals that are normally not secreted in others, as in adrenaline. Just an example, adrenaline, cortisol, and a few others. So adrenaline is secreted when a person is in a fight or flight response. But in PTSD, the mind is constantly trying to figure out the dangers around you. This happens in case of emotional trauma as well as physical trauma. In physical trauma, it's easier to figure out that physical things are causing the triggers. But in emotional trauma, you find it very hard to figure out what might be, causing the trigger in that person. But if you're constantly seeing that tick happening in that person, like that slight, difference from normal behavior, like they are suddenly getting scared, they're getting scared easily, they are worried to talk to people, they prefer to stay home rather than going out and engage with people because society scares them. Not actually scares them like they're not shit scared of people, but it's just that what if they say something and I may not like it, I just don't need to. They themselves are not realizing in this condition that they have PTSD. If they did realize, they would obviously have reached out for help, but they're not realizing, and that is why the thing is falling on your shoulder. So not going out, emotional issues, people talking, anything can elicit, this fight or flight response. The voice of people, certain pitches can set off PTSD. Certain pitches can act as triggers, especially if it's associated with a physical trauma or with an emotional trauma that, has a noise as a trigger. Certain pitches of people's voices can set off PTSD. And the moment this happens, the body starts to release adrenaline. And adrenaline puts your muscles in a very, very tight situation. They make the muscles tight. It gets your body ready for fight or flight. It makes you tense. Imagine feeling tense 24/7. That is what brings on the body. The constant muscle contraction, relaxation, contraction, relaxation. That's like a workout going on inside your body without you even wanting to engage in one. And this is what causes the physical symptoms. That is the pain. If you're feeling pain in your legs sometimes on your hands, sometimes your shoulder muscles, sometimes your head, tension, headaches, these are signs that the person may have PTSD. This is one. Changes in mood and irritation. This is second. People with PTSD are already dealing with, so much in their lives and they don't realize it. The problem is this, when it starts a few years down the line, it's more at a subconscious level than at a conscious level. So people do understand that they are feeling irritated, but they don't know quite why. So like, I'm feeling irritated. But suppose I have PTSD. I'll be irritated because, my body is throwing me off balance with these sudden jolts of energy, sudden adrenaline production, and I don't like it. And I am irritated with my own body. I'm irritated, I'm frustrated. And I'd be like, oh, how do I get rid of this? But since I don't have a way out of my problems, I'll obviously be angry, irritated, and I may lash out at other people when I don't even want to. So if you notice such signs happening, people lashing out when they don't mean to, they are showing mood swings, they are suddenly happy and then suddenly they're sad, and they are exhibiting erratic behavior, these are signs that the person might be suffering from PTSD. You have to take a closer look and you have to find out if something recent has happened that may set off such behavior. If nothing has happened, it's probably a PTSD that has triggered, that has found its trigger from the past and it's now manifesting. This was the second point. Now coming to the third one. Engaging in substance use and abuse. When people don't understand what's going on with them, when they cannot figure out, they feel that if I cannot even understand what's causing my problem, how will I find a solution to it? So the future basically starts to look bleak from the aspect of, a better mental health. So how to make yourself feel better? This is when people start to turn to things they should not, like drugs, alcohol, medication, sedatives. Not a good option, but this can also be the result of PTSD. So you need to talk to this person and find out why are they preferring these items, and will they really dull the emotional pain or physical pain that they're going through, or the physical trauma, emotional trauma that they've been in already? It's not. So turning to substances is very easy. It dulls the pain, it does not make you think about your problems for a little while, but it is not a permanent solution. It will not heal your mental status, it will not boost your mental health, it will not make you more productive. It basically is not helping you at all. All it is doing is throwing you down a ditch where you don't belong, where you don't need to be, and that's a ditch that's very deep and very hard to crawl out of. So if you suffer from PTSD, you need to avoid the ditch. If your loved one is suffering from PTSD and crawling towards that ditch, you need to stop it. The next symptom of PTSD that you must focus on is avoiding people. I have mentioned this point before in this video itself, but I think I would like to emphasize on it a little bit more. So you have to understand, if your loved one, your friend suddenly starts to avoid society, something's going wrong. Something either has happened recently or something happened in the past that's triggered and is causing all of these problems at the moment. You need to talk to them. You need to understand why they don't want to go out. If they don't want to talk, if the PTSD is to that level that it's difficult for them to talk about their trauma, then it's time you reach out to a psychologist and get a mental health practitioner involved in the thing. The reason people avoid going outside is because it provides a variety of stimulus and triggers, which obviously PTSD people people suffering from PTSD don't want to deal with. So, suppose I have PTSD, I step out, I see a car, I'm reminded of an accident I was in. I see a person, that person looks like someone who's emotionally abused me in the past. I don't want to see that person ever again. It triggers memories. They may not realize it, but it may happen subconsciously, but it is still happening. This is why people start avoiding going outside, avoiding meeting people, start avoiding life in general. And this can have a very, very detrimental effect on a person's mental health and physical health as well, because you need exercise, you need a routine. Human beings are people of routine. We need some kind of routine to keep us sane and happy and feeling productive. When all of those feelings vanish, people are left with an empty shell, and that they start avoiding, they start slowly they peel away the things that they used to do regularly, and this should not happen. Next is misplaced connections. The primary problem with PTSD, as has been observed in case of PTSD that arrives later in life, is people don't realize that it is PTSD. It's anxiety, it's depression. But why are you depressed? Nothing has happened in your life recently. You shouldn't be depressed. This is the reason PTSD does not even get diagnosed. So if you think that your friend, your loved one is facing depression or anxiety, but is not, understanding why, go to a counselor. They can help you out. And this brings me to the next point: anxiety and depression and stress. Obviously, when suddenly things around you are starting to trigger you and you're reminded of things from your past that you would rather not remember, it can cause depression, it can cause severe anxiety in that person. But for people who are close to that person, they may not realize that this is what is causing the problem. The moot point of this whole discussing about the subtle signs is because you need to understand when to go to a counselor. Sometimes things are just not meant for you to handle on your own, especially when you cannot even figure out what it is you're going through. Now the next phase or the sign in case of PTSD, which is very subtle, is guilt. Guilt is most often associated with survivor's guilt. Suppose there was an accident in your past life, or you were in the military and your colleagues or your war buddies, they died. You're the only one who survived. You already have the flashbacks of the war, and then you're living with survivor's guilt. Why did you survive? Why did they die? Wouldn't it have been better if you just died and they survived, or you died with them? Why did you survive? Life is so painful. Survivor's guilt. Such people find it very hard to verbalize their emotions, and they are constantly living in that pain, that emotional pain. And they are feeling that, okay, what is happening to me is probably, a punishment, and I should just go through it. This is my penance. This is not the right way to think, but this is what their mind is telling them to think. So this brings me to the next point. Such people start to refuse to get help. Even if you approach such people, they may say that, no, I deserve it. I deserve what's happening to me, so I don't need help. I don't need to go to a psychologist. Well, PTSD is a very complicated thing, and it has so many subtle signs and symptoms that it becomes sometimes hard to figure out if it is PTSD or if it's any other mental health issue. Then there is embarrassment. Obviously, no one wants to, disclose their traumatic past to a person they don't even know, especially to a counselor. But sometimes the same thing happens with loved ones as well. People who have been brought up in toxic family environment, they feel that if they discuss their issues, or those who have repressed childhood trauma, they feel that if they discuss their issues with others, they might be made fun of, or people might ridicule them, or just, dismiss them. They're also worried that society will feel that they are just not compatible, and they are losers and stuff like that, which should not happen. And this is because they refuse to reach out and they refuse to get help, even though they need it. How can you help? I mean, I have already discussed how can you help someone with PTSD, but how can you help someone who has subtle signs of PTSD and does not even realize that person has PTSD? The primary point: talk to them. Don't be judgmental. Just talk. Allow them to divulge how much they want to. if they are ready to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or go to a mental health practitioner, because this is pretty frustrating, not being able to figure out what is happening to you, why it is happening to you. Just tell them, we'll take an anxiety test, we'll figure out, and that'll make you feel a whole lot better. There are drugs and there are therapies for almost everything nowadays, so take them to a mental health practitioner. But what to do if they are unwilling? If they are unwilling to deal with their problems, then you have to be their support system. You can reach out to a psychologist and ask them, how to mold your friend or your loved one to get ready to accept help. Because certain times thought patterns are hard to change. They are encased in hard materials and people don't want to change it. They just don't want to. In that case, it becomes very difficult to, take that person to a psychologist. So you can consult the psychologist. You can find out the steps you can take to bring your loved one to the doorstep of the psychologist. Or you can talk to the psychologist, consult with them, and be the support system of your loved one if, that's something that's possible for you. What you understand, how much you understood, you go and discuss it with the psychologist. And if they say that you need to bring your friend in, then they will also give you strategies to, mold your friend's mind towards going to a psychologist and make it more positive and more like they will get help and they should be ready for it, like that. But these are the things that you need to watch out for in your loved ones if you're suspecting PTSD. Even if you're not suspecting and they are displaying behaviors you don't understand and they just started suddenly. I hope this has cleared up some of the fog regarding the subtle PTSD signs. In case you have any queries, you can put it down in the comment section, or if you want to directly communicate with me, you can reach out to me on Twitch. I am available on Twitch on almost all weekdays, Monday to Sunday. I start my stream around 10 a.m. Indian Standard Time and it ends at 4:30 to 6:30 Indian Standard Time. So you can reach up to me there. I also have mental health specific discussion streams. These streams happen twice a week, Mondays and Fridays from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So if you wish to reach out to me and if you want to communicate your problem directly and talk to me, this would be the best platform. Since I am live, I can answer your questions right then and there. So in case you want, you can reach me on Twitch, or you can leave your comments in the comment section and I'll be happy to help. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and definitely press that notification bell so that YouTube can notify you whenever there is a new video release. I also do have a mental health blog by the name guiltfreemind.com. You will find the link in the description section, so please go ahead, have a look at it. It has a bunch of stuff on PTSD and also various other mental health issues. I hope this was a productive and insightful information into PTSD. I hope that you learned more than you knew before. And if you have any queries, you know how to reach out to me. My socials, my Twitch account, my Twitch link, all of it you'll find in the description. So I hope I will see you on Twitch in the live discussion stream. See you, take care, and take care of your loved ones. But remember, self-care is primary. Mental health is not an optional thing, it's compulsory. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye, take care.